My girlfriend and her guy best friend had cooked up a scheme, tricking me into meeting them at the county clerk's office. They wanted to see me get rejected and humiliated in public. Her buddy was even live streaming, ready to capture my pathetic downfall. Jess had looked down at me, a cruel smile playing on her lips. You're not good enough for me. This was just a joke. I didn't acknowledge them. I just walked straight inside. When I came out, clutching the war marriage certificate, Jess's smile froze. She stared at the red booklet in my hand, a frantic edge to her voice. You actually went through with it? With who? The June sun beat down, hot enough to melt the asphalt. I stood in front of the county clerk's office, feeling like every drop of blood in my body was evaporating under the scorching rays. Jessica Miller, my girlfriend of 3 years, was linked arm in arm with her so-called guy best friend, Chad Peterson. On her face was a meticulously rehearsed smile, a blend of pity and mockery. Ethan, you didn't actually think I'd marry you, did you? Her voice was low, but it sliced into my heart like a poisoned dagger. Look at you. Do you even have $500 to your name? My man can't be some broke loser like you. Beside her, Chad, that slick, rich trust fund kid, held up his phone. The camera was pointed squarely at me. The rapid-fire comments scrolling across his screen were crystal clear. LOL, streamer's a legend, best circus act of the year. This guy's face is priceless. What a chump. Peasant trying to snag a princess, serves him right. Chad's grin widened. He leaned closer to the camera, mouthing in an exaggerated way. See that, fam? This is reality. No money, and even breathing is a mistake. Jess reveled in the attention. She tilted her chin, like a proud peacock delivering its final judgment. You're not good enough for me, Ethan. This was just a prank. Chad and I were the perfect match. I stared at them, at the face I'd kissed countless times, now etched with a cold, unfamiliar cruelty. 3 years of my life, reduced to a meticulously planned joke. I could even remember how, just last night, she'd looked at me with such excitement, telling me she had a surprise planned, insisting I bring my ID and meet her here today. This was the surprise. A public humiliation, trampling my dignity into dust in front of hundreds of thousands of live viewers. I said nothing. A scorching lava churned in my chest, threatening to incinerate me. I just fixed Jess with a long, hard stare. Then, as their shocked expressions settled, I turned and walked, step by painful step, through the doors of the county clerk's office. Behind me, Jess and Chad's unrestrained laughter echoed. He actually went in? Ha ha ha, what's he gonna do? Marry himself? Forget him. Let him make a fool of himself. We'll keep streaming. Just wait till he comes out crying. I didn't look back. The air conditioning inside the office was blasting, and the chill seeped into my skin, but it did nothing to extinguish the fire raging within me. I didn't know what I was doing. I just instinctively refused to show them any more weakness. I drifted aimlessly through the lobby until a cool, clear voice spoke beside me. Sir, are you here for a marriage license too? I turned and saw a face that would make any elaborate description fall short. The woman wore a perfectly tailored white pantsuit. Her long hair was swept up, revealing a slender, pale neck. Her features were exquisite, like a masterpiece, but her eyes held a cold detachment that kept the world at bay. She seemed to be waiting for someone, but her partner was nowhere in sight. Impulsively, I nodded. She studied me for a few seconds, her gaze unwavering. Then, she uttered something that still makes me dizzy to think about. Your partner didn't show, and neither did mine. How about we make a match? I froze. I thought I was hallucinating, but she seemed utterly unconcerned by my shock. She took out a sleek designer handbag, retrieved a document, and placed it on the empty seat beside her. My name is Serafina Vance. I need a marriage, and you, it seems, do too. There was no hint of a joke in her voice, just a businesslike calm. I looked at her, then thought of those disgusting faces outside. A potent surge of emotion, a mix of vengeful anger and reckless abandon, crashed over me. Okay, I heard myself say, my voice raspy and unrecognizable. The next steps were blur. Photos, forms, vows. When the clerk handed us 2 hot-stamped red booklets, I was still in a daze. Had I really just gotten married? To a stranger I'd known for less than 10 minutes? Serafina seemed to read my mind. She handed me one of the booklets, her tone as flat as ever. Mr. Hayes, It's been a pleasure doing business with you. I gripped the warm booklet, feeling its immense weight. When I walked out of the county clerk's office, the sun was still blinding, but my world had irrevocably shifted. Jess and Chad were still there, their mocking smiles lingering. The moment they saw the glaring red booklet in my hand, those smiles shattered, replaced by pure, unadulterated shock. Chad's phone camera jolted violently. The live stream chat, previously filled with haha, exploded into a dense flurry of WTF? What just happened? What's he holding? A marriage certificate? Fake news? Photoshop? Streamer? Zoom in. Quick. Jess's face went white. She stared, wide-eyed, at the red booklet in my hand, her voice a sharp shriek that seemed to tear through the air. Ethan, you actually did it. With who? Her tone was laced with disbelief and a hint of panic she hadn't yet recognized. I didn't answer her. I just swept a disdainful gaze over them, as if they were two frantic clowns. Slowly, I unfolded a corner of the marriage certificate. The blurry red seal and photo were vaguely visible in the sunlight. I deliberately kept her from seeing my new wife's face. I wanted her to guess, to go crazy. Just then, a sleek, understated black luxury sedan glided silently to a stop in front of me. The emblem, though unfamiliar, screamed expensive. The window rolled down, revealing Serafina's cool, beautiful face. She didn't even spare Jess or Chad a glance, as if they were insignificant specks of dust. Her gaze fixed on me, her voice calm, but with an undeniable authority. Mister, Hayes, it's time to go. She gave a slight nod, gesturing for me to get in. Throughout the entire interaction, she completely ignored the two people frozen in shock beside me. Jess stared blankly at me, watching as I walked towards the luxury car, whose make she couldn't even identify. Her carefully orchestrated humiliation had, in this moment, spiraled completely out of control, becoming a resounding slap across her own face. Chad's livestream was in chaos. OMG, 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 epic plot twist. Who is that woman? She's stunning. So much class. This is the real payback. Ex-girlfriend's face is green. Hero MC. Full marks for this move. RIP ex-girlfriend's emotional well-being. I opened the car door and slid inside. The soft leather seats enveloped me, and a cool, unfamiliar fragrance filled the air. The window slowly rose, completely shutting out the external noise and their twisted faces. Inside, a profound silence reigned. For the first time, I took a close look at the woman beside me, my nominal new wife. She elegantly retrieved a sleek black card from her handbag and handed it to me. The card bore no title or contact information, just two words embossed in gold: Serafina Vance. My world, in that moment, was irrevocably turned upside down by those two words. The car smoothly pulled away from the county clerk's office, leaving the absurd drama far behind. I could still see Jess and Chad, like frozen statues, in the rearview mirror. The cool air in the car gradually brought my anger-fueled mind back down to earth. This is our marriage agreement. Please review it, Mr. Hayes. Serafina's voice broke the silence. She handed me a neatly bound document, her tone as if discussing a multi-million-dollar deal. All business, no personal emotion. I took the file, my fingertips brushing the cool paper, a sense of unreality washing over me. The first page, in bold black type, read, Marriage Contract. I flipped through it, the clauses alarmingly detailed. Rights and obligations, duration of marriage, confidentiality agreement, asset division. Even how to publicly portray ourselves as a loving couple was meticulously spelled out. This was a transaction, pure and simple. I need a marriage, Serafina explained, her voice calm as she looked out at the rapidly receding city lights. To fend off family pressure for an arranged marriage and unnecessary business alliances. Today, my intended partner canceled at the last minute, and your appearance was a perfect accident. She paused. You became my ideal shield. Shield. The word made me smile bitterly. My life certainly was dramatic today. I'd just escaped being a public spectacle, only to instantly become a pawn in a high-stakes family power struggle. My emotions were a tangled mess. I know this is sudden. Serafina seemed to sense my silence. She turned, her clear eyes meeting mine for the first time. This marriage is purely for show. We won't interfere in each other's private lives. In return, I'll provide you with a substantial compensation." She paused again, then added, "This money will be enough to resolve all your current difficulties and ensure your future life is free of worries." Money. Before today, I might have scoffed at that word. I'd always believed genuine emotion was more important than money. But reality had slapped me hard across the face. I remember Jess's disgusted expression, her vicious taunts about my future during the live stream. Someone like him will always be stuck in a rental, eating ramen. A fierce sense of injustice and anger flared up in my chest again. Why should they define me? Why should I live under their ridicule? I looked up at Serafina. Her eyes were clear, devoid of Jess's disdain or Chad's calculation. There was only the sincerity of a business proposition. "I saw what happened outside the county clerk's office," she said suddenly. "I know you were set up. Your integrity is why I chose you. I need a clean, trustworthy partner, not an opportunist trying to grab my assets." Her words were like a strange balm, soothing my raw, wounded heart. She'd seen it all. She hadn't laughed at me like those anonymous viewers. Instead, she'd recognized my integrity. I took a deep breath, pushing down the chaos in my mind. Accepting this deal wasn't just for the money. It was also for retaliation, to prove to Jess and Chad, and to everyone who looked down on me, that I, Ethan Hayes, wasn't some pushover they could walk all over. More than that, it was to live for myself. "Okay, I'll sign." I picked up the pen and on the last page of the contract, signed my name, Ethan Hayes, with a firm hand. The soft scratch of the pen on paper was loud in the quiet car. The moment I signed, an unprecedented pressure settled on my shoulders, like an invisible mountain. But at the same time, there was a hidden, inexplicable thrill. My life, it seemed, was about to be forcibly pushed onto a completely unknown path. Serafina saw me sign. That usually cool, unyielding face showed a rare, almost imperceptible smile. "Welcome aboard, Ethan." She extended her hand to me. "From now on, we're husband and wife." Her hand was cool, but as I clasped it, I felt a strange strength. "We're husband and wife." These 4 words exploded in my mind like thunder. This mysterious, powerful heiress and I, bound together by an absurd accident. What the future held, I didn't know, but I knew that, from today, everything would be different. I'd assumed my contract marriage with Serafina would be like 2 parallel lines, no intersections beyond the necessary performance. But I soon discovered how wrong I was. The day after we got our license, an online storm against me erupted. Jess and Chad, clearly unwilling to let my public comeback go unanswered, launched a furious counterattack. Massive scoop. Humiliated guy is actually a gold-digging scammer. Abandons 3-year girlfriend to latch onto a rich woman. How disgusting can a man be? Chad's live stream, rebranded, went live again. He tearfully accused me of deceiving Jess and scheming to stage a scene at the county clerk's office just to snag that mysterious rich woman. Jess, meanwhile, posted a lengthy, emotionally charged diatribe on her social media. She painted herself as a heartbroken victim, every line implying I was a money-hungry opportunist who'd sold out our relationship for cash. Suddenly, public opinion swung hard. Swarms of angry, misinformed users flooded my social media accounts with vicious comments. "Scumbag, get out of the design world. Enjoy living off her. Hope you and your sugar mama last forever." My heart goes out to Jess, 3 years wasted on a dog. I trembled with rage, staring at the vile comments. Black was being twisted into white, lies spread so easily. Just as I was about to post a rebuttal, my phone rang. It was Serafina. I saw what's happening online. Her voice was as calm as ever. "Don't act impulsively. My team will handle it." "But Ethan," she cut me off. "Remember, we are husband and wife now. Any attack on you is a provocation to me. This is part of our agreement. Protecting your reputation is protecting my choice." Her words instantly calmed my agitated heart. Before I could fully process the depth of her statement, the counteroffensive had silently begun online. First, screenshots of my text messages with Jess from just before our breakup were leaked by a major entertainment influencer with millions of followers. The messages clearly showed Jess expressing her lack of feelings for me and her blatant flirtation with Chad. Most damningly, there was a conversation between her and Chad, detailing how they'd planned the county clerk's humiliation to publicly shame me and ruin my reputation. Jess, tomorrow, we'll make sure Ethan the loser gets the message loud and clear. Chad, don't worry, babe. I've got everything set up. Hundreds of thousands watching him fall flat on his face. He'll never show his face again. With that evidence, public opinion erupted. Before netizens could even process this shocking twist, more dirt was unearthed. Chad's messy private life and his chat logs juggling multiple relationships. Screenshots of Jess in her group chats, bad-mouthing friends and manipulating those around her. Then, high-definition surveillance footage from the county clerk's office was released. The video clearly captured Jess and Chad's condescending mockery, my lonely walk away, and their utterly shocked, twisted faces when I emerged with the marriage certificate. The truth was laid bare for all to see in a most undeniable way. The same netizens who'd been cursing me out now turned their fury on Jess and Chad's social media. Holy SHD, best plot twist of the year. You two were the clowns all along. So disgusting. Framing your ex and then playing the victim. Lock these two up. Scheming woman and slimy guy. Hope you both explode. Jess's carefully cultivated goddess image imploded overnight. Her accounts were deluged with angry insults and ridicule. Chad's live stream was permanently banned by the platform, and rumors flew that several small projects his father had invested in were quickly pulled by partners due to the scandal, instantly crippling their finances. At the center of the storm, a blurred photo of our marriage certificate quietly climbed to the top of the trending topics. My face was clear in the photo, and while my new wife's features were pixelated, her unparalleled aura and the vague hints of a luxurious background fueled rumors of a mysterious heiress. I, Ethan Hayes, a regular designer, had, through an absurd marriage, become the focus of national discussion overnight. That evening, I returned to the home Serafina had arranged for me, a sprawling estate in the exclusive Hills District. Serafina sat on the living room sofa, a laptop resting on her lap, seemingly working. Seeing me, she closed the laptop and offered me a glass of warm water. The online situation is handled, she said dismissively. I just leveraged some PR resources to let the truth come out. I looked at her, a complex mix of emotions stirring within me. Was this what it felt like to have power and influence? To simply lift a finger and make those who had caused me so much pain pay a heavy price? It felt both gratifying, a sweet taste of revenge, and instilled a flicker of awe for Serafina's capabilities. Thank you, I said genuinely. No need, she shook her head. It's part of our agreement. My protection for you. She always brought up agreement, as if constantly reminding me that ours was merely a transaction. But I could almost glimpse, in her cool eyes, a hint of something else. Concern? Perhaps it was just my imagination. The media storm is still brewing, and many outlets will want to interview us, she said, standing up to go upstairs. Be prepared. From now on, our lives won't be quiet anymore. I watched her walk away, her figure slender yet strong. I knew she was right. Our shotgun marriage was like a giant stone thrown into a calm lake, stirring up a tidal wave. And I, as the unwitting protagonist, had been forced onto the stage with no way to step back. I officially moved into Serafina's estate. Everything here far exceeded anything I could have imagined in my previous 2 decades of life. Beyond the massive floor-to-ceiling windows lay a meticulously manicured private garden. The interior was modern and luxurious, every corner screaming expensive. A perfectly uniformed middle-aged butler respectfully addressed me as Mr. Hayes, leading a line of staff who greeted me. For a moment, I was overwhelmed, feeling like a pauper who had stumbled into Versailles, not knowing where to put my hands or feet. Serafina seemed to notice my discomfort. She dismissed the butler and staff and personally showed me around. This is your room, with a private workspace and walk-in closet, she said, pointing to a south-facing bedroom on the 2nd floor. My room is at the end of the hall. We'll abide by our agreement and not interfere with each other. Her arrangements were thoughtful yet distant, perfectly adhering to our marriage contract. Our cohabitation began in an awkward, subtly tense atmosphere. I still went to my small design company every day, but my commute had changed from crowded subway rides to Serafina's personal Bentley, driven by her chauffeur. My colleagues looked at me with a mix of curiosity and deference. The bosses who used to ignore me now proactively sought me out. I knew it all stemmed from my identity as the mysterious rich wife's husband. It felt strange, like wearing ill-fitting clothes, uncomfortable and out of place. Evenings at the estate, Serafina and I didn't interact much. Most of the time, we'd eat dinner in silence at the massive dining table. Initially, the atmosphere was painfully awkward, punctuated only by the clinking of silverware. Until one time, I noticed she'd barely touched her steak, instead favoring a dish of sautéed asparagus. On a whim, I used the serving tongs to place some asparagus on her plate. Her motion of picking up food paused slightly. She looked up at me, a hint of surprise in her eyes. Then, she gave a slight nod, quietly said thank you, and ate the asparagus. That small gesture, like a pebble dropped into a frozen lake, broke the ice. The atmosphere at the dinner table seemed to soften a little. I slowly began to discover another side to this cool CEO. She worked like a perpetual motion machine. I often woke up for water in the middle of the night and saw the lights still on in her study. But she also had a softer side. One weekend afternoon, I saw her sitting alone on the garden swing, sunlight dappling on her, making her appear less sharp, more gentle. She wasn't on her phone or looking at documents, just quietly gazing into the distance, a hint of something I couldn't quite decipher, a touch of loneliness in her eyes. I didn't disturb her, just quietly brewed a cup of hot tea and placed it on the stone table beside her, then quietly left. When I looked back, I saw her pick up the tea, bring it to her lips, and take a delicate sip. In that moment, I thought I saw a flicker of warmth in her eyes. Our conversations extended beyond the dinner table to work. I hit a roadblock with one of my design proposals, stuck on a particular detail. I mentioned it casually during dinner one evening. To my surprise, Serafina, after listening, offered a completely new perspective from a commercial operations standpoint. Your design has spirit, but it could be bolder in terms of user experience and commercial conversion. For example, this entry point, if integrated with our online store, could create a synergy. Her words were spot on, a sudden flash of insight that opened my mind. For the first time, I realized she wasn't just a powerful woman controlling a vast business empire, but also a brilliant mind with incredible business acumen and foresight. My admiration for her grew exponentially. Our relationship, through these daily interactions, was quietly changing, from initial awkwardness and reserve to a growing understanding and familiarity. One evening, my phone suddenly rang. It was an unfamiliar number. I answered, and Jess's shrill voice came through. "Ethan, you're so proud now, aren't you? Found a rich woman and forgot who you are? Let me tell you, don't think this is over." Her voice was full of jealousy and resentment, still trying to leverage our past relationship to threaten me. I didn't even bother to say another word, just coldly hung up. As I ended the call, Serafina came downstairs. She seemed to have heard something, her eyes lingering on my face for a few seconds. She asked nothing, but the next day I noticed the estate security system had been upgraded again. Outwardly, we continued to play the part of a loving couple. Occasionally, media photographers would follow us, and Serafina would naturally link her arm through mine, a perfectly appropriate smile on her face. At several unavoidable family gatherings, she skillfully handled the probing questions from relatives about my background, always protecting me. My heart swung back and forth between this awkward performance and genuine emotion. I found it increasingly hard to distinguish what was acting and what was real. Until one time, I accompanied her to a corporate celebration dinner. At the banquet, she was like a queen, effortlessly navigating through various business tycoons, conversing and radiating charm. But after the event, on the way home, I saw her leaning back in the seat, tiredly rubbing her temples. In that moment, she shed all her aura and armor, becoming just a normal woman who got tired and weary. For the first time, a powerful thought surged within me. I wanted to protect her, not because of the contract, not because of what she could give me, but from a genuine place. I wanted to shield her from some of the storms, to give her a moment of ease and peace. The thought startled me. I realized I might have, developed feelings I shouldn't for my contract wife. The calm of our cohabitation was soon shattered by a more turbulent undercurrent. One weekend afternoon, Seraphina's uncle, Arthur Vance, arrived unannounced. Arthur, around 50, wore a meticulously tailored suit. His eyes were sharp and shrewd, scrutinizing people with undisguised judgment and arrogance. "So this is Mr. Hayes, I presume? Heard a lot about you." He shook my hand with a thin, humorless smile, his grip firm, clearly meant as a power play. "Sarah's taste is getting harder and harder to understand. So many suitable young men from prominent families, and she picks, well, a designer." The disdain in his voice was palpable, crushing my dignity with quiet force. "Uncle, please." Seraphina's voice cut in, perfectly timed. She came downstairs, naturally taking my arm. "Ethan is the husband I chose. I know his talent and character best. We're very much in love." She pushed me to the forefront, making me face the pressure from her powerful family. For the first time, I truly understood that being a son-in-law in such a family was far harder than I'd imagined. I forced a stiff smile, mimicking Seraphina, and parried with the old fox. "Mr. Vance, you flatter me. Marrying Sarah is the greatest fortune of my life." Arthur gave me a deep look, as if trying to see through me. He clearly didn't believe our love story, constantly probing our relationship, trying to find cracks in our marriage. After Arthur left, the atmosphere in the estate grew heavy. The composure on Seraphina's face vanished, replaced by a deep weariness. She confided in me about her true crisis. It turned out that the Vance Corporation was not a united front. A faction led by Arthur had always coveted the inheritance her father had left her. They were actively pushing for Seraphina to marry into another powerful family, intending to dilute her shares through the marriage, ultimately sideline her, and seize control of the corporation. My appearance had completely disrupted their plans. "So, they won't give up easily," Seraphina said, looking at me, her eyes more serious than I'd ever seen them. "From now on, we must act like a deeply devoted couple in front of everyone. You need to be a love-struck husband, so obsessed with me that you'd give up anything. Only then can we make ourselves impenetrable." I was drawn into a deeper whirlpool, a family struggle for power and wealth. My life, too, came under intense scrutiny. I could feel it. Wherever I went, there seemed to be eyes watching me. Arthur's people, like ghosts, tried to unearth evidence of our contract marriage. Under immense pressure, Seraphina and I, these fake spouses, were paradoxically forced to become closer. I started learning more about her. I discovered that despite her formidable exterior, she needed sleeping pills every night. I learned that she detested the cold calculations and self-serving exchanges within her family. And I realized that she had chosen me, an outsider, precisely because I possessed a cleanliness that those signs of powerful families lacked. At a formal family banquet, Seraphina's aunt, a bejeweled socialite, acrimoniously questioned my background in front of all the relatives. "Sarah, I'm not trying to criticize, but marriage is serious. How could you be so careless? What help can a man from an ordinary family be to our Vance Corporation? Don't tell me you've been fooled." All eyes instantly focused on me. In that moment, I felt like an item on display, subject to everyone's judgment. Flames of anger burned in my chest, but I suppressed them. Remembering Seraphina's coaching, I wore a gentle, humble smile and responded, without arrogance or servility. "Aunt, you're right. I do come from an ordinary background, and I can't offer Sarah direct help in her career." I paused, meeting her gaze. "But precisely because I have nothing, what I can give Sarah is the purest. I can give her all my love, a warm home, and a haven where she can find peace after battling the outside world. I believe these things might be more important than any business alliance." My words stunned everyone present. The caustic aunt's face flushed, then paled, and she was speechless for a long moment. Seraphina, clutching my arm, tightened her grip slightly, and a genuine, approving smile touched her lips. After the banquet, on the drive home, she thanked me, for the first time, proactively. "Thank you for tonight, Ethan." Then, she did something I hadn't expected. She took my hand. Her hand was still cool, but this time, I distinctly felt that beneath the coolness, there was a genuine trust and reliance on me. My heart skipped a beat. Arthur's goal isn't just to force me into an arranged marriage, she said softly, looking out the window. What he truly wants is the entire Vance Corporation. He's driven away everyone who could help me. Now he sees you as the biggest and last obstacle in my path. I squeezed her hand, feeling a heavy sense of responsibility. I realized this contract marriage, which began as an accident, was far more dangerous than I'd imagined. And far more, I confessed to myself, entangling. I was no longer just a pawn on a shield. I had become her sole ally in this high-stakes family war. I looked at her tired profile and told myself, Ethan, you cannot back down. You must protect yourself, but even more, you must protect this woman who pulled you from the mud, yet also drew you into a greater storm. Because now, you're husband and wife, even if only in name. Just as I was fully committing myself to navigating the internal family currents with Serafina, Jess, and Chad, those two clowns I'd all but forgotten popped up again. Unwilling to accept their disgraced fate, after a period of silence, they escalated their revenge, making it even more vicious and reckless. This time, they were smarter. They hired an army of internet trolls to anonymously spread even more venomous rumors across various forums and social media platforms. Exposed. Ethan Hayes, the social climber who married into wealth, rumored to have domestic abuse tendencies. Former girlfriend reveals Ethan repeatedly assaulted her and manipulated his rich wife with sympathy to get married. The so-called mysterious heiress is just a pathetic reject from her family, looking for a puppet husband to save face. Chad even set up an anonymous overseas live streaming account, broadcasting daily, filled with abhorrent slander and personal attacks against Serafina and me. He specifically targeted Serafina, savagely questioning her business capabilities, implying that Vance Corporation was on the verge of collapse under her leadership, and even fabricating lewd rumors about her having special fetishes. These remarks were like maggots in a sewer, unseemly, yet utterly disgusting. I was so furious I wanted to rush over and rip Chad's mouth off. Serafina, however, was much calmer. She looked at the filthy words without a ripple of emotion, merely instructing her PR team, gather all the evidence. Also, trace the server address of that anonymous live streaming platform and its financial backers. Then, she turned to me, a cold, sharp curve to her lips. They like to put on a show, then we'll give them a grand one. Days later, a highly anticipated charity gala became our stage for retaliation. On the night of the gala, Serafina deliberately wore a gown I had designed for her. It was an off-white, floor-length dress, simple yet exquisitely crafted, perfectly accentuating her cool and noble demeanor. As she walked onto the red carpet with me, the flashing lights of countless cameras immediately converged on us. Ms. Vance, is this the rumored Mr. Hayes beside you? Ms. Vance, what brand is that stunning gown you're wearing? It's breathtaking. Serafina paused, facing the myriad cameras, a serene smile on her face. This is my husband, Ethan Hayes. She paused, then turned her gaze to me, her eyes filled with love and pride. As for this gown, it's not a couture piece from any brand, but a creation by my husband. He is a truly gifted designer. Her words, broadcast live, spread across the internet. My identity as a designer and my talent were, for the first time, affirmed on such a grand stage, with the most authoritative stamp of approval. In that moment, standing beside her, I felt utterly empowered. Midway through the gala, Jess and Chad, just as we had anticipated, unexpectedly appeared. They'd somehow managed to sneak in and, like two rabid dogs, charged towards us, attempting to create chaos. Ethan, you ungrateful snake! Jess shrieked, pointing at me, tears streaming down her face. Are you really wearing her expensive clothes and forgetting the days when you lived off me? Chad, meanwhile, fanned the flames. Everyone look, this is the man who cheated Miss Vance. He's a complete fraud. The room erupted in whispers. All the guests and media personnel looked on, their gazes inquisitive and curious, darting between the four of us. However, facing their accusations, I showed no signs of panic. Serafina didn't even bother to lift an eyelid, simply elegantly sipping her red wine. I looked at the two crazed individuals before me, then pulled out my phone from my pocket. I hit play. A clear recording, amplified through the venue sound system via a Bluetooth connection, echoed through the entire ballroom. It was Jess and Chad's conversation. The complete, unreleased dialogue from when they were plotting how to humiliate me. Chad, babe, are you really breaking up with that broke loser, Ethan? Jess, what else? How else will I ever get an Hermes bag? When are you getting me that Porsche you promised? Chad, as long as you play your part in the show tomorrow, let Ethan lose face in front of the whole internet. Forget a Porsche. I'll buy you anything you want. Jess, it's a deal. I'm sick of his self-righteous act anyway. Just a lousy designer, thinking he's hot stuff. The recording also included an even more chilling segment. Chad, oh, by the way, that design draft he submitted for the competition, did you get it? Jess, yeah, it's on his computer. I already sent it to you. You sure you can tweak into your own work and win an award? Chad, don't worry. I'll have someone make a few minor changes. Nobody will be the wiser. A small-timer like him with no connections. What's he gonna do even if he finds out? When the recording finished, the entire ballroom fell into a deathly silence. Everyone stared at Jess and Chad, whose faces had gone deathly pale, with shocked and contemptuous looks. The evidence was undeniable. This wasn't just emotional betrayal. It involved commercial plagiarism and fraud. Security. Serafina finally set down her wine glass, her voice icy, devoid of any warmth. Two burly security guards quickly stepped forward, grabbing the now limp Jess and Chad. I'm not leaving. Ethan, you can't do this to me. Jess shrieked, still struggling. I looked at her, my eyes devoid of anger, just cold indifference. As they were dragged away, Serafina stood up and walked to the media. She took the microphone and, facing all the cameras, stated clearly, word by word, I, Serafina Vance, CEO of Vance Corporation, hereby formally declare any defamation or attack on my husband, Mr. Ethan Hayes, or on Vance Corporation, will be met with full legal action. She paused, then added, as for those two individuals you just witnessed, I believe the law will provide them with a just verdict. Her voice was resolute, filled with unquestionable authority. The next day, the news was everywhere. Rich heir suspected of plagiarism to steal affections, under investigation. Scheming woman conspires with lover to frame ex-boyfriend, publicly exposed, reputation in ruins. Chad and his father's company saw their stock plummet overnight due to the massive scandal, teetering on the brink of bankruptcy. Jess, too, was summoned by the police, suspected of complicity in fraud. They had painstakingly schemed to drag me into the abyss, only to dig their own graves. This online storm, initiated by me, ended in the most thorough and devastating way possible. And I, standing behind Serafina, for the first time, understood what true power felt like. Having weathered the storm of external attacks together, the invisible barrier between Serafina and me seemed to quietly melt away. We were no longer merely contract partners living under the same roof. Instead, a bond forged in shared hardship, a camaraderie, had grown between us. The atmosphere in the estate was no longer the initial awkwardness and formality. It had gained a touch of lived-in warmth. I'd remember that she didn't like strong spices like ginger or garlic, and I'd remind the chef in the kitchen. She'd remember I preferred pour-over coffee, and specially arranged for top-grade Colombian beans to be flown in. One late night, after finishing a design draft, I emerged from my study and saw her still in the living room, poring over thick financial reports. I walked over and sat beside her, not speaking. She, uncharacteristically, didn't talk about work. Instead, she began reminiscing about her childhood. She said she had few friends growing up. Her only companions were business case studies and the Vance family tree. She mentioned her father had been very strict, teaching her first and foremost not to trust anyone, especially those who smiled readily. She said she envied me, envied that I had a simple but warm family and genuine friends. That night, she spoke a lot. I listened quietly, seeing for the first time the hidden desolation and loneliness deep within this cool CEO. Beneath her rigid, distant armor lay a soft heart that yearned to be understood and cherished. From then on, I began to more actively try to enter her world. Every morning, I'd wake up half an hour before her to personally make her a simple breakfast. Perhaps just a fried egg and a glass of warm milk, but she always finished every bite. She still wasn't verbally expressive, but she would quietly bring me a warm coffee or a plate of sliced fruit when I worked late into the night. Our interactions gained a silent understanding. One time, at a company department dinner, I drank quite a bit. Under the influence of alcohol, I became a little loose-lipped. I babbled many things to Serafina over the phone as she came to pick me up. I told her how grateful I was, how she'd given me a dignified way out when I was at my lowest. I told her how much I admired her, her decisiveness in business, and how my heart ached for her pretense of strength when she was alone. I said, "Serafina, you actually have a beautiful smile. You should smile more." There was a long silence on the other end of the line, so long I thought the call had disconnected. Then I heard her say in an incredibly soft voice, with a hint of barely perceptible shyness, "Got it, drunkard. Wait where you are. Don't wander off." After that, I unconsciously started paying more attention to her preferences. I knew she loved classical music, so I went out of my way to find some rare vinyl records. I knew she had a soft spot for a niche perfume brand, so I asked a friend studying abroad to buy it for me. When I gave her these gifts, she'd always put on her usual, "you're being troublesome" cool expression, but then she would turn around and carefully place those little gifts I gave her in the most prominent spot in her study. Our relationship, like seeds quietly sprouting in spring, was slowly breaking through the soil. Family pressure still lingered. Serafina's relatives once again brought up my outsider status, demanding she clarify my relationship with Vance Corporation and prevent an outsider from interfering too much in company affairs. At a board meeting, Arthur struck again, openly mocking me as a gold digger in front of all the directors. Before I could retort, Serafina stood up, her gaze sweeping coldly across the room. "Let me reiterate. Ethan is my husband, my legally recognized partner. He is not an outsider. His talent and capabilities are evident to all. In the future, he will not only be involved in the group's affairs, he will even become the future hope of the Vance family." Her words silenced the entire conference room. She had fiercely defended me in front of everyone. In that moment, watching her resolute back, my heart pounded uncontrollably. At an important business dinner, Serafina, exhausted from days of work and a bit of wine, suffered a flare-up of her stomach condition. She forced herself to stand, her face pale, fine beads of cold sweat on her forehead. I was the first to notice her discomfort. Without a word, I guided her through the crowd to the lounge. I helped her lie down, found warm water and stomach medicine for her, and gently massaged her abdomen with my unpracticed hands. She leaned back on the sofa, eyes closed, her long eyelashes casting a silhouette in the light. She seemed to have completely let down her guard around me, her whole posture one of softness and dependence. Half asleep, half awake, I heard her whisper my name, almost inaudibly. "Ethan." The sound was a dreamlike murmur, laced with deep reliance. My heart, in that moment, was profoundly stirred. Like a burning stone dropped into a lake, it instantly created countless ripples. The bedrooms in our estate were well soundproofed. But one night, I was woken by a strange pang of unease. Walking out of my room, I passed hers and thought I heard a faint, suppressed sobbing. The sound was very light, like a kitten's whimper, intermittent, full of helplessness and vulnerability. My heart clenched. For the first time, I felt profound pain for her. I stood outside her door, hesitating for a long time, but ultimately didn't knock. I feared my presence would shatter her last pretense. I just stood silently outside, with her, until the sound gradually faded. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. Lying in bed, her cool face and that suppressed crying echoed in my mind. I finally had to admit a truth. My feelings for Serafina had completely transcended that cold contract. I was no longer content to be just her partner. I began to greedily yearn for this marriage, which began as a transaction, to become a true love story, belonging only to her and me. Just as I was immersed in the deepening emotions with Serafina, believing we could slowly turn this fake marriage into something real, a fatal crisis quietly brewed in the shadows. Arthur Vance, the man who had always seen me as a thorn in his side, finally bared his most vicious fangs. He watched as Serafina and my relationship grew deeper, and I gradually gained a foothold within Vance Corporation through my design abilities, earning the support of some board members. He felt an unprecedented threat. He began orchestrating an even more malicious and direct conspiracy. I stumbled upon this information accidentally. I leveraged my connections, asking a friend with considerable expertise in cybersecurity to monitor some abnormal network activities related to Arthur. My friend, in an encrypted dark web forum, discovered a shocking transaction record. Arthur had, through the dark web, contacted a notorious international arms trafficking group. The transaction involved not only the purchase of contraband, but also a chilling mission to eliminate the biggest obstacle to the current CEO of Vance Corporation. That obstacle was me. He didn't just want power, he wanted my life. When I saw those chat logs, my blood ran cold. I immediately told Serafina the news. After she heard it, her usually composed face, for the first time, showed shock and disbelief. He's lost it. He's truly lost it. She murmured, her body trembling uncontrollably. She hadn't expected her own uncle, for the sake of power, to become so deranged. After a brief moment of shock came a tidal wave of anger and chilling disillusionment. We must report this to the board and to Grandpa immediately. Serafina declared decisively. We cannot give him any more chances. We decided to leave at once for the Vance family estate to directly expose Arthur's crimes to the family patriarch, the steadfast pillar of the Vance Corporation, Grandpa Elias Vance. However, we still underestimated Arthur's madness. On our way to the estate, on a secluded, winding mountain road, disaster struck. A black SUV, without warning, slammed into us from the rear side. Our car let out a loud bang and swerved violently. The driver fought to keep control, but the SUV, as if possessed, repeatedly rammed our rear bumper. Then, another SUV of the same model appeared, completely blocking our path. 7 or 8 masked figures in black jumped out of the two vehicles, brazenly brandishing guns. Protect Ms. Vance, the driver and front seat bodyguard roared, immediately pulling out their weapons and engaging in a fierce firefight with the attackers. Gunshots instantly echoed through the quiet valley. The car windows shattered in an instant, shards of glass flying everywhere. Quick, get out! My mind went blank, only one thought remaining. I cannot let Serafina get hurt. I shielded her with my body, violently pulled open the car door, and clutching her rolled out of the car, taking cover behind the roadside guardrail. Gunfire whizzed over our heads. I could clearly hear the dull thud of bullets hitting the car body and the muffled groans of bodyguards falling. My heart hammered against my ribs. Ethan, are you okay? Serafina's voice, laced with unprecedented panic and trembling, rang in my ears. I'm Fina. I held her tightly beneath me, feeling my heart ready to burst from my chest. Just then, a killer spotted our position, raised his gun, and aimed the dark muzzle directly at me. My pupils contracted sharply, just as I thought I was done for. Serafina shoved me violently. Watch out! She threw her body in front of mine. Bang! A gunshot. I watched, horrified, as a vivid splash of blood quickly bloomed on the white sleeve of her pantsuit. Serafina, I let out a desperate cry, feeling my entire world collapse in that moment. An unprecedented fear and rage erupted within me like a volcano. I couldn't let anything happen to her. I absolutely couldn't let anything happen to her. I don't know where the strength came from, but I lunged up from the ground, grabbed a waist-high rock from the roadside, and hurled it with all my might at the gunman. The killer fell. I charged forward like a maddened beast, engaging the remaining attackers in a primal fight. I headbutt, using every means available to fight back with all my strength. In the chaos, Serafina, enduring immense pain, pulled out her phone from her pocket and, with trembling hands, dialed a number. Grandpa, we're under attack on the mountain road. Please help us. Her voice trembled from blood loss and pain, but her decisiveness and calm were still clear. Fortunately, the Vance family's reinforcements arrived faster than I'd imagined. A dozen black sedans roared from both ends of the mountain road, surrounding the killers. We were saved. I rushed to Serafina's side, seeing her bleeding arm, my heart aching almost to the point of not being able to breathe. I ripped off my shirt and tightly bandaged her wound. "Don't be scared. Don't be scared. I'm here." I held her, stammering reassurances, only to find myself trembling even more than she was. She leaned into my embrace, her face ashen, yet managed a faint smile at me. "Ethan, you were so brave." After saying that, she completely lost consciousness. The wail of ambulances grew closer. Serafina and I were both rushed to the hospital. This sudden life and death crisis completely exposed Arthur's conspiracy. It also utterly shattered that last thin veil named contract between Serafina and me amidst blood and gunpowder. Our relationship, in that moment, was elevated through the most brutal crucible. In the VIP hospital room, the scent of disinfectant hung in the air. Serafina lay in the hospital bed, her arm heavily bandaged. Due to significant blood loss, her face looked exceptionally pale and fragile. I stayed by her bedside, not leaving for a second. For days, I had barely slept, my mind replaying the terrifying scene on the mountain road and the moment she shielded me from the bullet. The lingering fear and heartache wrapped around me like two massive nets. Grandpa Elias Vance had visited once, a spirited old man with eyes as sharp as an eagle's. He looked at me, silent for a long time, and finally just clapped my shoulder heavily. "Good boy. Sarah didn't choose wrong." Arthur had already been apprehended by the Vance family security team. The evidence of his collusion with an international crime syndicate and hiring assassins, compiled with my friend's help, was fully submitted to the police. The strictest legal punishment awaited him, but none of that concerned me. I only cared about when the woman in the bed would wake up. Finally, on the afternoon of the third day, her eyelashes fluttered gently, then slowly she opened her eyes. "Water," she rasped a single syllable. I immediately picked up the cup, dipped a cotton swab in water, and carefully moistened her dry, cracked lips. She looked at me, and my bloodshot eyes and the stubble on my chin, a hint of tenderness in her gaze. "You haven't slept in days. I'm Fina." I held her uninjured hand, my voice choked. "How are you feeling? Does your wound still hurt?" She shook her head, then gripping my hand in return. "Ethan, I thought I'd never see you again." Her words were like a key, instantly unlocking the floodgates of my emotions. I could no longer control myself. I leaned down, burying my head in the crook of her neck, silent tears streaming down my face. I loved her. This thought, in that moment, became incredibly clear, undeniably certain. I lifted my head, looked into her eyes, and said, word by word, solemnly, "Serafina, I love you. Not because of the contract, not out of gratitude, but simply because I love you. From the moment I saw you lost in thought in the garden, from the moment you took that bullet for me. No, maybe even earlier. I love you, and I want to be your real husband, the kind that lasts a lifetime." Her eyes instantly reddened. Shimmering tears rolled down her cheeks, dripping onto the white pillow. She didn't speak, just reached out and gently caressed my cheek. Then she leaned in, gathering all her strength, and pressed a kiss to my lips, tasting of salty tears. "Me too." She looked at me, her eyes red, her voice trembling with the aftershock of survival and an undeniable, profound affection. "I love you too, Ethan." In that moment, all words became superfluous. Our contract marriage, having endured the test of life and death, had finally ascended into true love. During Serafina's recovery, our relationship rapidly deepened. We shed all pretense and barriers, like any couple deeply in love, sharing everything about ourselves. I told her embarrassing stories from my childhood. She recounted her experiences conquering Wall Street. We planned the future of Vance Corporation together, and we dreamed of our own future as a couple. After she was discharged, we jointly began a comprehensive purge of Arthur's influence. I leveraged my design talent, combined with Vance Corporation's technological resources, to spearhead the development of a brand new, proprietary smart security system. This system not only protected our personal safety, but also built an impregnable firewall for Vance Corporation's core data. This project catapulted my reputation within the group and earned me genuine respect and a voice. Serafina, with my help, masterfully orchestrated a strategic maneuver, pulling the rug out from under Arthur's faction. She swiftly removed Arthur's cronies who had been entrenched within the group, capitalizing on the power vacuum created by his arrest, and promoted a cadre of capable, driven young executives. At an emergency board meeting that would determine the group's future direction, Serafina, overcoming all opposition, officially appointed me as the Chief Executive Officer of Vance Corporation's newly established Innovation Strategy Department, entrusting me with real power. As a victim, I provided the police with all the evidence regarding Arthur's hired assassins, and we hired the nation's top legal team to ensure he received the punishment he deserved. Arthur, it was said, suffered a stroke in prison upon hearing all this, becoming completely incapacitated. After a brief period of turbulence, Vance Corporation stock, fueled by our series of innovative measures and the success of new products, not only rebounded but surged, hitting an all-time high in market value. Serafina and I, the shotgun marriage couple who started at the county clerk's office, became the most captivating legend in the business world. Our story was reported by countless media outlets, becoming a paradigm of success in both love and career for young people. In prison, Arthur saw all this through news reports. It was said he suffered another stroke from rage, becoming completely paralyzed and unable to speak. The power and wealth he had spent his life chasing ultimately became footnotes, enhancing the legendary story of Serafina and me. And the Vance family elders, who had initially questioned and opposed our union, now offered their full support and pride. In their eyes, I, the former poor kid, had proven with my capabilities that I was worthy of Serafina and worthy of the Vance family. We had truly taken control of Vance Corporation's future. The absurd story that began with a humiliation prank seemed to have reached a perfect conclusion. But for Serafina and me, our true happiness was just beginning. On a bright, sunny afternoon, Serafina and I stood on the open balcony of our beachfront villa, gazing at the distant azure ocean. The sea breeze ruffled her soft, long hair and stirred an endless tenderness in my heart. I gently wrapped my arms around her from behind, resting my chin on her shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" I asked. She leaned into my embrace, a serene smile playing on her lips. She turned, looking at me, her eyes, once as cold as ice, now filled with starlight and tender affection. She didn't speak, just took my hand and gently placed it on her flat stomach. I froze. The next second, a colossal, ineffable joy instantly overwhelmed me. You, I stammered, too excited for words. She smiled and nodded, her eyes a little wet. "Ethan, you're going to be a dad." Overjoyed, I scooped her up and spun her around excitedly on the balcony. The sunlight streamed down on us, warm and brilliant. We decided to hold a grand wedding. Not for anyone else, but to atone for that rushed, absurd beginning of the county clerk's office. We would invite all our friends and family who genuinely wished us well to witness our happiness. On our wedding day, dressed in a crisp tuxedo, I watched Serafina, in her pristine white gown, walk slowly towards me, step by step. She was so beautiful, like an angel not of this world, that I was completely captivated. As we exchanged rings, I looked in her eyes and said, with deep emotion, "Thank you, Serafina. Thank you for entering my world like a beacon of light on the darkest day of my life. And thank you for that absurd humiliation prank. If not for it, I might never have met you, my true love, and the most magnificent gift of my destiny." She, too, smiled through her tears at me. "Me too, Ethan. Thank you for making me believe that in this world, there truly is pure love, untainted by any self-interest." Our child, a sweet baby boy with my eyes and Serafina's nose and mouth, was born in the winter. We embraced our roles as parents, enjoying the warmth and happiness of our family. I continued to achieve breakthroughs in my career, leading Vance Corporation further and further down the path of technological innovation. Serafina, meanwhile, dedicated more energy to family and philanthropy. She guided Vance Corporation onto an even broader international stage. At the same time, we established a charitable foundation in our names, specifically to help young people like me, from ordinary backgrounds, struggling against adversity, but with dreams. Jess and Chad had long since vanished into obscurity. I heard that after their release from prison, burdened by massive debts, they lived in utter destitution. Once, on the cover of a financial magazine, I saw a photo of Serafina and me holding her child. The headline read, "From Contract to Legend, the business empire and love story of Ethan Hayes and Serafina Vance." I don't know if they felt any remorse when they saw that report, but it no longer mattered. Their world and our happiness had long since become parallel lines that would never intersect. As the sun set, I held Serafina's hand, watching our son toddle across the lawn, giggling. My heart was filled with unprecedented gratitude and contentment. That humiliation that began outside the county clerk's office, that hastily obtained red marriage certificate, ultimately did not become my punchline. Instead, it opened the most magnificent and happiest chapter of my life. I squeezed Serafina's hand tightly, our fingers intertwined. True love, peak life. This was my perfect ending. End.